Hi everybody, my name's Amy and today I'm going to be taking you through another edition of Try a Trade Takeout. So today we're going to be making our own skills spice. And before we start, we're going to be talking through the theory of spices and the role they play in cooking. So a few tips. If you've got long hair, you want to make sure it's tied up, and also you may want to use food safety gloves. So, what are spices? Spices are used to elevate our cooking and also taste, and they make food taste that much better. So you may be familiar with just salt and pepper, but there's a whole world of spices out there. Particularly when you visit countries in Asia, for example, or the Middle East, they'll have whole markets dedicated to spices. So spices complement our main ingredients in cooking, whether that be meat, or vegetables, or even desserts. And it's all about keeping the process simple, finding what you enjoy and enjoying the process. So with spices, there are 5 main tastes. We've got salt, sugar, bitter, sour, umami, and then also other sensations such as spice. So let's learn a little more about what each of those roles play. So starting with sugar, here we've got some golden sugar. So as you may know, this works really well in sweets and desserts, but it also can be used for things like barbecue rubs. And if you enjoy that sweet flavour on, say, your ribs, it works really well as it accentuates the flavour of the meat. So if you're looking at building a barbecue rub today, you may want to use sugar as your base. So next we've got salt, and I would say this is the most well-known and popular of all the spices out there. This is typically found in most spice blends, and it's used to accentuate all the flavours of your food and the other spices. The thing with salt is you do want to be careful when adding it to your blend, because too much and it's just way too salty. So you can always add, but you can't take away. So next we have sour. So I have some ground sumac here. And then other flavours such as tamarind are within that sour family. So it's not typically found in Western cooking, but it's really popular in Asian cooking and also Middle Eastern cooking. So sour notes work really well with sweet when they're paired in balance, as it creates that perfect harmony. So next we have bitter notes, and these are things such as dried herbs. Now when we want to pair these and build our spice blend, we want to make sure that we're using in moderation, as they can be very bitter and also overwhelming for some people. So here I've got some tarragon, and I've got all these from my pantry at home. I've got some oregano, I've got some basil, and I've also got an Italian herb mix. So this is a mix of several herbs: thyme, rosemary, basil, oregano. Tarragon's definitely my favourite of all the dried herbs. I love to pair that with chicken, onion, garlic, and cream. So next we have umami. You might not have heard of this word, but you will have definitely heard of the spices that are associated with it. So this is what gives that satisfying flavour when it's paired with things such as meat, mushrooms, and even gooey melted cheese. So here I've got some onion powder, smoked paprika, which is my favourite spice, and then also garlic powder. You can also find umami notes in things like nutritional yeast. And finally, we have spices. So these give that warm sensation, and they come in many different forms. So here we've got some whole red chilies, we've got some cayenne pepper, this is super delicious, some chili powder, and then also chili flakes. You do want to be careful with spices, as you know, they come in all different ranges from, I guess, less spicy all the way up to super spicy, such as ghost peppers, but we won't be including those in your kit. So yeah, when you're including your spices, just make sure a little at a time, keep tasting, see where you're at with it. If you like that warm sensation, definitely add more. I'll also include a recipe for a numbing oil, which uses Szechuan peppercorns, and that's super delicious and something you can add on tons of things: noodles, salad, and I really recommend buying a pack of Szechuan peppercorns and using those. So next I want to talk about the difference between ground spices and whole spices. So ground spices are okay to buy in small quantities if you're going to be using them within 6 to 12 months, because they tend to lose their freshness. Now if you want the freshest taste, I really recommend using whole spices. So here I've got some cloves, I've got some cardamom, I've got some arjuan, some cumin seeds and coriander seeds. So these are really nice to blend in a mortar and pestle, or also to use a coffee grinder to break those spices down. And then I wouldn't recommend just eating those fresh. They're really nice if you toast them up once you've blended them. So, you know, if you were making a base for a curry, you would want to blend whole spices, cook those off before adding your other ingredients. Or even you could use cloves and cardamom, add some ginger in there, and you could make your own chai. So now we've learnt more about the different flavour profiles of spices, we're going to have a go at putting our knowledge to the test. So in your kit, you'll have all been included a skills spice or a spice blend from Muley's, and that is a deli here in Edmonton. And they create tons of spices and meats, and they're also an alumni of Skills Canada Alberta. You'll also get some popcorn, so get that in the microwave. And you're going to use your activity sheet to try and identify all the different spices that are included in this blend. So you can use your popcorn, you can put it on a spoon and just taste straight from the spoon. Just make sure you don't double dip. And then with this, so it's just identifying flavors and then also the intensity of each flavor. So maybe you're getting a lot of spice, you're getting a lot of sweetness, and then also making a note of what you really enjoy for when it comes to building your own spice. So the final step of our spice tutorial is to build your own blend. So this is the fun part. So make sure you're using all those tips and tricks that you learned earlier, so the different flavor profiles, and then also think about when you were doing the taste test and what that was like, and then what tastes and flavors you'd like to apply to your own blend. So as I mentioned, if you wanted to do a barbecue rub, you might want to go heavy on the sugar base. You might also want to use paprika as a base, and just really keep testing as you're going along, have fun with it, see where you want to enhance your flavors. Maybe if you want to bring something back, that's totally okay. So you can either use some of the inspiration recipes that we've provided or just go wild. So in your kit, you won't receive this cup, but you'll receive a little paper cup, and you want to fill that cup till about halfway. If you want to get really scientific, you can also use some kitchen scales. So I've got some here, and you want to fill the cup to around 36 to 40 grams to ensure that it fits into your spice bottle. So when we've compiled the mix, the biggest thing is blending that together. So stirring it, make sure all those flavors are combined. Because things like sugar and onion powder, they do have a tendency to clump, and that's not what we're looking for. Because when we're going to put it onto our food, we want to ensure that there's an even distribution of spices and that one half of your chicken isn't super spicy where the other's super mild. So let's get building. So I have a few different spices here. So I'm going to use sugar as my base, as I mentioned. So that's going to go in there, and I am just eyeballing this. I really hope it equals 36 grams, but you're definitely going to make sure you're doing it right. I'll add a little chili in there. And like, you will have received different tablespoons, teaspoons, so you can use different ones depending on how much you'd like to see in there. So we'll do a little onion powder, a little garlic powder, maybe some basil, or oregano in this case, and then the key ingredient, some salt. So I just like to add a little bit of salt because I do prefer to add salt myself once I've added the spice mix, because I do feel like then it gives you better control over that. So as I mentioned, you're going to stir it together really well, get all those spices combined, and it turns to a real pretty colour. Keep stirring, get all those lumps and clumps. And then the next step, we're going to take our spice blend, peel the top off, the spice shaker, and then using the funnel, we're going to pour our mix in there. And as I said, I just eyeballed, so this is more sample size, but yours is going to be filled right to the top. And then pop that lid back on, and there you've got it, your very own spice blend. So you can take that home, use it on your cooking, impress your family, or if you want to try it out in your classroom, maybe you can have a bit of a competition and see who's the next Skills Canada Alberta culinary competitor. Enjoy!